Hare Krishna. So we are continuing, and this is part 3 of our reading of 10th Canto, and there will be a lot of parts, that's for sure. I would be surprised if we will finish it in 1 year, but most probably not. In any case, so just to remind how we structure it, the 10th Canto of Srimad Bhagavatam will always start with a chapter of Krishna book, which is a summary of each chapter which made by Srila Prabhupada. Then we will go to the actual chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, and we read, verses, Srila Prabhupada's purports, and the commentaries of Acharya Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Srila Jiva Goswami, Srila Sanatana Goswami, and whenever it is appropriate, we will also look at the Ananda Vrindavan Champu by Kavi Karnapur and Gopal Champu by Srila Jiva Goswami, which of course are also relating the same events. Now we know the pastimes of the Lord are eternal, so whenever there are certain contradictions, we know that they eternally going on in spiritual world, and even they eternally go on in material world. They go from one universe to another. As soon as it's finished in one universe, immediately it starts in another universe. And within one universe, the pastimes happening every day of Brahma. So there's a lot of variegatedness within the similar pastimes. And we will try to get whatever we can by the mercy of Acharyas and Srila Prabhupada, and try to relish it and absorb our mind in it. So the idea why we're doing it, and the Sacred Space podcast is actually designed for us to be more absorbed, or as much as possible absorbed, in our eternal reality, comparing to our relative reality, in which we have to be absorbed day in and day out, unfortunately. Right? Things are going, we need bills to pay, we need, to put out so many fires. But this is all temporary. As soon as the body is finished, it's all going away. But we already have millions of bodies, and if we are not careful enough, we're going to have another millions of bodies. I mean, as devotees, rest assured, we are not. But in any case, some argue you need more than one life. Srila Prabhupada said you can do it within this life. Some argue that one life is not enough, and honestly, it doesn't matter. We need to make it one day at a time, and we have 24 hours. And we need to increase our devotional service as much as possible. Increase, and whatever Srila Prabhupada's desire, whatever Krishna's desire, as we become more Krishna conscious, this never goes away. And therefore Lord Chaitanya says, Mama Janmani Janmanishware, even life after life, I just desire your devotional service. So at certain point, it doesn't matter if we take birth again or don't. So the idea is that we just try to be as absorbed in Krishna, as Krishna conscious as possible. But as with losing weight, right? You cannot just lose 20 pounds and then in 1 week. Rest assured, you will gain it in another week. So it's an incremental, gradual process where we increase our spiritual absorption in such a way that our mind does not freak out and just switch completely from being, Paramahamsa chanting 64 round to, chanting 0 round and just watching movies the whole day. So we need to take it one day at a time and increase little by little, incremental percentage. Of course, if you want to do it more, all glories, and it's just be sure that it is sustainable. In majority of cases, it is not, but maybe in your particular case, you can make it, and you're exceptional, and you will go against all odds, and it's wonderful. But in Russia we say the slower you go, the further you will get. So we need to understand how fallen we are, but also doesn't matter how we are fallen, we still have to beg for the mercy and want the mercy and have good association, and in form of devotees around us in form of hearing and chanting, and give ourselves spiritual strength and move one step, one step at a time, The journey of million miles start with one step, and most probably some of us have been on this journey for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, some maybe only 1 or 2 years. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, we cannot force the process, but we just can design our life in such a way that we are in the process and getting deeper and deeper and more absorbed. Anyway, preaching out of the way, let's go to reading now. To chapter 1 of Krishna book, the Advent of Lord Krishna. Once the world was overburdened by the unnecessary defense force of different kings, who were actually demons, but were posing themselves as royal order. At that time the whole world became perturbed, and the predominating deity of earth, known as Bhumi, went to see Lord Brahma to tell of her calamities due to demoniac kings. Bhumi assumed the shape of a cow and presented herself before Lord Brahma with tears in her eyes. She was bereaved and was weeping just to invoke the Lord's compassion. She related the calamitous position of the earth, and after hearing this, Lord Brahma became much aggrieved, and he at once started for the ocean of milk where Lord Vishnu resides. Lord Brahma was accompanied by all the demigods headed by Lord Shiva, and Bhumi also followed. Arriving on the shore of the milk ocean, Lord Brahma became to pacify Lord Vishnu, who had formerly saved the earthly planet by assuming the transcendental form of a boar. By the way, just recently we just read this pastime 2 days ago, right? It was Varaha Dvadashi, and we read the pastime of Lord Boar. It was wonderful, so you could just check this video in our playlist, the festivals. You'll see Varaha Dvadashi and see the pastime of the boar. In any case, just some thoughts. And I realize that once we will be reading the chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, most probably the whole thing repeat, but hey, we're here to relish and to dive deeper and get, to churn the topic from many angles as much as possible. How much I can churn, very limited, but some thoughts are there. So I just, this is basically the perfect situation for me, right? I have no idea who is watching, but if I would be reading, I would be dying to share something with somebody, but it's a little bit stupid, right? So you just read and you start talking, just with yourself, or I'm too lazy to make notes. Actually, I was doing it before, but then I never look at them, right? So, but and not as elaborate as if now I think maybe somebody is listening, and a few people at least as of now who has been watching or hearing this podcast. So I just basically read, and whenever I feel itch to comment, that I will do, because we do have audiobooks. We have audiobooks, and they're much better rendered than what I can render myself. So you will be served much better if you just want to hear audiobook. But here it's a slightly different format. So please don't kill me for that. Anyway, so idea is that we the aftermath of this is a battle of field of Kurukshetra, right? And there was so many things which led to it, but the whole idea was that this battle of Kurukshetra had to happen. That's why Mother Bhumi actually asked the Lord to appear to get rid of huge military forces which were burdening the earth. So battlefield, that's why Lord Krishna said, Arjuna, you need to fight, right? It's what I want, because this is something, of course, this is very, very external reason for the Lord to come, He had much more relishable internal reasons, especially, which we will be reading in 10th Canto. But yeah, the battlefield of Kurukshetra had to happen because this was the original kind of cause for Lord Krishna to appear. Paritranaya Sudnama Vinashaya Chadushkritam. So he needed to get the earth rid of demoniac forces or even just excessive military forces. Continue. In the Vedic mantras there is a particular type of prayer called Purusha Sukta. Generally, the demigods offer their obeisances unto Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by chanting the Purusha Sukta. It is understood herein that the predominating deity of every planet can see the Supreme Lord of this universe, Brahma, whenever there is some disturbance on this planet, and Brahma can approach the Supreme Lord Vishnu, not by seeing him directly, but by standing on the shore of the ocean of milk. There is a planet within this universe called Shvetadvip, and on this planet there is an ocean of milk. Again, it's interesting, just yesterday it was Nityananda Trayodashi, so I was reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Again, you can see this video in festivals. We didn't complete even by far the chapter, so we'll continue next year, but Srila Prabhupada was describing the two Shvetadvips, right? One Shvetadvip in this universe and another Shvetadvip, which is Gokula in the spiritual world, in Krishna Loka, right? It's also called Shvetadvip, so we should not mix these two Shvetadvip. This Shvetadvip, the planet on the milk ocean, and that's where Kshiradakashaya Vishnu. Why? Because Kshira means milk ocean. He resides in the milk ocean, and he is also Paramatma within the heart of every living being, right? This is the last Purusha avatara of three Purusha avatars. Okay, so somewhere there is ocean of milk, somewhere there is ocean of oil. It is understood from various Vedic literatures that just as there is an ocean of salt water on this planet, there are various kinds of oceans on other planets. Somewhere there is an ocean of milk, somewhere there is the ocean of oil, and somewhere there is an ocean of liquor and of many other types of liquids. The Purusha Sukta is a standard prayer which the demigods recite to appease the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kshiradakashaya Vishnu. Because he is lying on the ocean of milk, he is called Kshiradakashaya Vishnu. He is the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, through whom all the incarnations within this universe appear. Right? So all the incarnations which come in this universe appear through Kshiradakashaya Vishnu. It doesn't mean they are, the Kshiradakashaya Vishnu is their source. So for example, if Krishna appears, he still appears through Kshiradakashaya Vishnu, but of course Kshiradakashaya Vishnu is partial, expansion of the expansion of Lord Krishna. But still he is the gateway or segue through which Krishna appears, right? Or not only Krishna, all the incarnations is said here. After the demigods offered the Purusha Sukta prayer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they apparently heard no response. Then Lord Brahma personally sat in meditation, and there was a message transmission from Lord Vishnu to Brahma. Brahma then broadcast the message to the demigods. So he was like a, receiver. He sat in meditation, he got the message from the Lord, and then he narrated it to the demigods. So it was received first by Brahma from the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the medium of the heart. As stated in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, Tene Brahma Hridayadi Kavaye, the transcendental knowledge of the Vedas was transmitted to Lord Brahma through the heart. Here also, in the same way, only Brahma could understand the message transmitted by Lord Vishnu, and he broadcast it to the demigods for their immediate action. The message was this: the Supreme Personality of Godhead would appear on the earth very soon, along with his supreme powerful potencies, And as long as he remained on the earth planet to execute his mission of annihilating the demons and establishing the devotees, the demigods should also remain there to assist him. They should all immediately take birth in the family of Yadu dynasty, wherein the Lord would also appear in due course of time. The Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, Krishna, would personally appear as the son of Vasudeva. Before his appearance, all the demigods, along with their wives, should appear in different pious families in the world, just to assist the Lord in execution of his mission. The exact word used here is tat priyartham, which means the demigod should appear on the earth in order to please the Lord. In other words, any living entity who lives only to satisfy the Lord is a demigod. Hare Krishna. The demigods were further informed than Ananta, the plenary portion of Lord, who is maintaining the universal planets by extending his millions of hoods, would also appear on the earth before Lord Krishna's appearance. They were also informed that the external potency of Vishnu, Maya, with whom all the conditioned souls are enamored, would also appear by the order of the Supreme Lord, just to execute his purpose. So Lord asked all the demigods appear along with his wife in the families to assist him in the pastimes, and then the external potency of Lord Vishnu Maya also would appear, right? After instructing and pacifying all the demigods as well as Bhumi with sweet words, Lord Brahma, the father of all Prajapatis, or progenitor of universal population, departed for his own abode, the highest material planet called Brahmaloka. The leader of Yadu dynasty, King Shurasena, was ruling over the country known as Mathura, wherein lies the city of Mathura, as well as a district known as Shurasena, which was named after him. On account of the rule of King Shurasena, Mathura became the capital city of all the kings of the Yadus. Mathura was also made the capital of the kings of Yadu dynasty because the Yadus were a very pious family and knew that Mathura is a place where Lord Krishna lives eternally, just as he also lives in Dwaraka. Once upon a time, Vasudeva, the son of Shurasena, after marrying Devaki, was going home on his chariot with his newly wedded wife. The father of Devaki, known as Devaka, had contributed a sufficient dowry because he was very affectionate toward his daughter. He had contributed hundreds of chariots completely decorated with gold equipment. At that time, Kamsa, the son of Ugrasena, in order to please his sister Devaki, had voluntarily taken the reins of the horses of Vasudeva's chariot and was driving. So Ugrasena and Devaka were brothers. So the Devaki, she was the cousin sister of Kamsa. According to the custom of the Vedic civilization, when a girl is married, the brother takes sister and brother-in-law to their home because the newly married girl may feel too much separation from her father's family. The brother goes with her until she reaches her father-in-law's house. So again, the ruler of Mathura was Shurasena and his son was Vasudeva. Devaki's father was Devaka and he was the brother of Ugrasena, who was the father of Kamsa. So Kamsa was driving them and he was cousin brother of Devaki. The full dowry contributed by Devaka was as follows: 400 elephants fully decorated with golden garlands, 15,000 decorated horses, and 1,800 chariots. He also arranged for 200 beautiful girls to follow his daughter. The Kshatriya system of marriage, still current in India, dictates that when Kshatriya is married, a few dozen of the bride's young girlfriends, in addition to the brides, go to the house of the king. The followers of the queen are called maidservants, but actually they act as friends of the queen. This practice is prevalent from time immemorial, traceable at least to the time before the advent of Lord Krishna 5,000 years ago. So Vasudeva brought home another 200 beautiful girls along with his wife Devaki, while the bride Anyway, so that was the custom, right? 200 beautiful girls would go as if they were not married. They just would go with a girl who was married, and they lived, and they would entertain the girl and serve her and be her friends and just hang out with her. I'm not sure if they would be considered the kind of maidens of the king or not, or if he would have any relationship with those girls. Not clear, at least from what we hear here. We know that Vasudeva he had, I think, 8 wives, which was another custom that the Kshatriyas, powerful Kshatriyas, could marry more than one wife. But what kind of relationship of those girls with king, not clear. Definitely they are not married. Doesn't seem that they are married to anybody else. Though maybe they are actually, and it is just their service. Anyway, enough speculation. Going further. While the bride and bridegroom were passing along on the chariot, where there were different... listen, by the way, if you know anything which I don't know, and I don't know a lot, like I almost know nothing, still I'm talking. But if you know something, please, in the commentaries on the YouTube channel, would be wonderful if you could add and enlighten us on some matters. Of course, would be great. While the bride and bridegroom were passing along on the chariot, there were different kinds of musical instruments playing to indicate the auspicious moment. There were conch shells, bugles, drums, and kettle drums combined together. They were vibrating a ninth concert. The procession was passing very pleasantly, and Kamsa was driving the chariot when suddenly there was a miraculous sound vibrating from the sky, which especially announced to Kamsa, "Kamsa, you are such a fool. You are driving the chariot of your sister and your brother-in-law, but you do not know that the 8th child of this sister will kill you." Kamsa was the son of Ugrasena. So the voice we will see in Bhagavatam, I forgot, not the Bhagavatam commentaries of Acharyas explain much more where this voice is coming from and what actually exactly happening. But we'll get there. For now, just coming attraction. The voice would be explained. Kamsa was the son of Ugrasena of the Bhoja dynasty. It is said that Kamsa was the most demoniac of all the Bhoja dynasty kings. Immediately after hearing the prophecy from the sky, he caught hold of Devaki's hair and was about to kill her with his sword. So he didn't even doubt, like, well, who's speaking, what is voice, just like, okay, yeah, good enough, grabbed his sister by the hair and was about to cut her head. So he caught hold of Devaki's hair and was just about to kill her with his sword. Vasudeva was astonished at Kamsa's behavior, and in order to pacify the cruel, shameless brother-in-law, he began to speak as follows, with great reason and evidence. He said, "My dear brother-in-law Kamsa, you are the most famous king of the Bhoja dynasty. And people know that you are the great warrior and the valiant king. How is that you are so infuriated that you are prepared to kill a woman who is your own sister at this auspicious time of her marriage? Why should you be so much afraid of death? This is already born along with your birth. From the very day you took birth, you began to die. Suppose you are 25 years old, that means that you already died 25 years. Every moment, every second, you are dying. Why then should you be so much afraid of death?" It's interesting, right? Very, very simple argument, yet, of course, this argument is very difficult to swallow, for anybody, let alone the demon Kamsa. Right? Understandable, but, okay, I understand we all die, but, it will not sway him in the least. But we'll see there's a certain methodology which Vasudeva uses. Again, this methodology will be explained exactly in, I think, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he explains which different techniques of persuasion he uses, the politics. Anyway, final death is inevitable. You may die either today or in 100 years, or you can avoid death. Why? But you cannot avoid death. Why should you be so much afraid? Actually, death means annihilation of the present body. As soon as the present body stops functioning and mixes with the 5 elements of material nature, the living entity within the body accepts another body according to his present actions and reactions. It is just like when a man walks on the street, he puts forward his foot, and when he is confident that his foot is situated on the sound ground, he lifts the other foot. In this way, one after another, the bodies change and soul transmigrates. It's a big picture, very big picture. Of course, very difficult to swallow even for devotees, right? You know, like somebody comes and say, okay, I will kill you now. So what's the problem, right? I'll kill you. Like the demigods came to the Dichi Muni, asked him for his bones, and he was like, okay, what's the problem? You want my bones, so I need to die. Okay, no problem. That's high level. Usually with so much, can you imagine how much we are afraid of this body? I know, like, there was one devotee just now, he left his body, so he came and he had some problem with his lungs and with his heart, and when they checked him, they said you definitely need a transplant of heart, of the lungs, and of the lungs in order to survive. And even with that, we're not guaranteed. And he said, to hell with that. You know, just came to Mayapur and said, yeah, I'm just dying. Okay. But then some other devotees might be fighting and trying to do that. So there's no right or wrong, right? But it's a very difficult argument to understand, though it's true. So for us to be able to understand that we are not this body is perishable, this is inevitable, and actually to endeavor for anything other than coming closer to Krishna is a very, very stupid idea. It's definitely a level of realization which comes from sadhu sangha and from constant hearing and chanting, definitely by the mercy. So Vasudeva had very less chance in swaying Kamsa like that, but still he's trying, right? As soon as the present body stops functioning and mixes with the 5 elements of material nature, the living entity within the body accepts another body according to the present actions and reactions. Just like when man walks on the street, he puts forward, okay, we read this already, but this is still a very nice analogy. He puts forward his foot, and when he is confident that his foot is situated on the sound ground, he lifts the other foot. In this way, one after another, the bodies change and the soul transmigrates. See now, the plant worms change from one twigs to another so carefully. Similarly, the living entity changes his body as soon as the higher authorities decide on his next body. As long as the living entity is conditioned within this material world, he must take material bodies one after another. His next particular body is offered by the Lord of Nature according to the actions and reactions of this life. His body is exactly like one of the bodies which we always see in dreams. During our dream of sleep, we create so many bodies according to mental creation. We have seen gold and we also seen mountain. And in a dream, we can see a golden mountain by combining the two ideas. Sometimes in dream, we see that we have body which is flying in the sky. At the same time, we completely forget our present body. Similarly, these bodies are changing. When you have one body, you forget the past body. During a dream, we may make contact with so many new kinds of bodies, but when we are awake, we forget them all. And actually, these material bodies are the creation of our mental activities. But at the present moment, we do not recollect our past bodies. Just imagine, right? Kamsa grabbing Devaki by the hair. His sword is up. And then it's like a still picture, and then Vasudeva I'm pretty sure he's not even as fast as I am, right? I'm just reading quite fast. I'm pretty sure he speaks very calmly. He's afraid, but he tries to reason with Kamsa. So it's a long situation, the guy is sitting, just pictures this, right? And then Vasudeva, he pleads with him, and the Kamsa is listening. Whatever it is, he's listening somehow or other. So he continues, the nature of the mind is flickering. Sometimes it accepts something and immediately it rejects the same thing. Accepting and rejecting is the process of the mind in contact with the 5 objects of sense gratification: form, taste, smell, sound, and touch. In a specific way, the mind comes in touch with the objects of sense gratification, and when the living entity desires a particular type of body, he gets it. Therefore, the body is an offering by the laws of material nature. The living entity accepts a body and comes out again into material world to enjoy or suffer according to the construction of the body. Unless we have particular type of body, we cannot enjoy or suffer according to our mental proclivities, inherited from the previous life. The particular type of body is actually offered to us according to our mental condition at the time of death. So Krishna talks about it in Bhagavad Gita. Whatever you think about at the moment of death, this nature you will acquire in the next life. And this is extended principle and more narrow principle. He said, whoever thinks of me, Krishna says, goes to my abode. So we need to think about Krishna. The more we think of Krishna during life, we have more chances to think about Krishna at the time of death, right? The more we worry about everything and anything during life, most probably that's something which will still be bothering us at the time of death as well. So, we will be, it's like a diet, right? When you eat junk, you will be unhealthy, you will be fat, you will have less energy. It's just what it is, So in order to be fit, in order to be healthy, you need to see what you eat. Of course, we only eat prasadam, but even if we eat prasadam until we are transcendental, we need to see that we don't eat too much of the opulent prasadam. Again, it depends on the level of our consciousness, the level of our faith. But if we are getting sick, we're getting fat, and we're getting unhealthy, it means that we are not on the level of consciousness to such extent that the qualities of prasadam, which are not transcendental, we still get some material qualities of eating it in, because we see it as food. We don't see it as Krishna. So, and Krishna reciprocates. If we see it as food, then it's also getting to us like that. It's, though it still carries a lot of spiritual potency, but it's mixed. It's not the pure prasadam taken, as well as if we don't chant pure holy name, right? We chant namabhasa, so discovery, right? So we eat in prasada bhasa. In any case, so this mentality is important. Our mental food is important. So what we consume is important. So hearing about Krishna, discussing about Krishna, hearing that we are not this body, and hearing about that other world, which actually our real home, more and more aspiring to go there, it's something which elevates our consciousness. And being stuck here, watching local news and being absorbed in whatever is happening in this world is dragging us down, making us more anxious, and engaging us more and more in this material world. The luminous planets like sun, moon, or stars reflect themselves in different types of reservoirs, like water, oil, or ghee. The reflection moves according to the movement of the reservoir. The reflection of the moon is on the water, and the moving water makes the moon also appear to be moving. But actually the moon is not moving. Similarly, by the mental concoction, the living entity attains different kinds of body. Also, actually, he has no connection with such bodies. But on account of illusion, being enchanted by the influence of Maya, the living entity thinks that he belongs to a particular type of body. That is the wave of conditioned life. Suppose a living entity is now in a human form of body. He thinks that he belongs to a human community, or a particular country, or particular place. He identifies himself in that way and unnecessarily prepares for another body, which is not required by him. Such desires and mental concoctions are the cause of different types of bodies. The covering influence of material nature is so strong that the living entity is satisfied in whatever body he gets, and he identifies with that body with great pleasure. Therefore, I beg to request you not to be overwhelmed by the dictation of your mind and body. So Vasudeva continues to preach. And the interesting point which he makes here, that doesn't matter which body one get, he becomes so attached to it. And this is very famous story which also Srila Prabhupada likes to tell, that Indra offended Brihaspati, and as a result, his spiritual master, as a result of it, he became a pig. And he became happy pig. He got his pig daughter, his pig wife, and he pig children, and he was a very, very happy pig. But then some disturbances happened, and actually demigod said, we need to get Indra back. So Brahma came to claim Indra back and say, dear, king of heaven, Indra, you need to come back. And he said, no, I don't want. I'm pig. I'm not King Indra. I just want to be here. I'm happy. I'm not going anywhere. So even the position of king of heaven is not very much attractive. So he just wants to be in the body and enjoy the body, and because one thinks the body is all in all, there's nothing beyond it. So Brahma had to kill, I think, his wife and all children, and to get him come to senses. And then he realized, oh my God, I'm actually Indra. What I'm doing here, they take me back. Anyway, this is what material nature does. It kicks us, it pushes us. Sometimes it takes things which are most dear to us to make us awake, but we don't need to come to it. Let us awake on our own accord. Say, yeah, we're ready to be awake. We want to be awake. We want to serve Krishna. We want to dedicate our life to the purpose of going back to him, bringing as many souls as possible with us. Anyway, I think this is it for today. So we're in the middle of chapter 1. We'll continue tomorrow. Thank you very much. If you like this content, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it with whoever you think can benefit from it. Again, I'm definitely, unqualified, but the topic is great, and we mostly hearing from Prabhupada and from Acharyas, and just a little bit blah blah from myself. But if it is something which is useful, of service and pleasing to you, then I'm happy. But I'm doing it to please my guru, to please Srila Prabhupada, the previous Acharyas, Krishna, and I hope they are pleased. I hope all Vaishnavas who seen this content somehow as a common content with this content also pleased. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Nitya Gaura Premananda Hari Bol.